Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. Hope everyone's
Good.
having a
Going
great
well.
night. I mean that for us. It's kind of
Oh,
weird, right? Because
yeah. Who are
we're
we talking
saying
to?
things, and it's like, are we talking to the audience or are we talking to each other?
I think we're talking to each other.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
hi.
look. My blinds are open. Okay. Well, they'll have to stay open.
Is it really that shiny down there?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty much dark here.
It's not
already.
that shiny over here, is it, Dr. Ben?
No,
I didn't think so. That's so fascinating.
that's really light out, right? Because it's 9 o'clock for you too, right? Texas is central.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're central.
Wow.
I just got an alert. Venmo paid me 95 cents. I'm so happy. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh.
The other day they sent me $10 and I was happy about that, but I was like, okay.
I'm not happy with Venmo right now. My account's been frozen for a really long time because they say I owe them $110.
Oh, really?
How does
Why?
that even happen?
My kid disputed some transactions and I sent him $110. And so they think that like I owe him that money. So they took 110 from him, but they want me to pay 110 so they can freeze my account. And I'm like, y'all don't math correctly, bro. So I'm not paying it.
Bro,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Yeah,
There's
it's
some
weird.
like theoretical physicist stuff there.
I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, Dr. Ben, how was your what's going on?
It's going well. I just got in actually. So my wife and daughter went to see Coldplay in Chicago.
Nice.
What? Are you
At,
serious?
at the Bears Stadium, Soldier Field, and that was last night. And so they just got in off the train, and then I raced over here and to be on the show with you guys. So
We appreciate
that was
that.
nice. And Natalia had signed up for the dance team. They had to bag groceries as a fundraiser, right, at Hy-Vee.
Yeah.
And so at the grocery store. And so because she couldn't make it,
You had to go.
I stepped in. Yeah. So
What a good
Tell me,
dad.
guys, I'd have
Wow.
gone down to Ivy
If
today.
you guys are thinking, okay, so that means if they're gone, right, that means he's doing the whole you got the bachelor pad, right? He's gonna
Yeah.
get the video games and right and
Sit in your boxers, eat whatever you want.
You
Don't
got a
do anything.
to-do list.
I wish I had these incredible stories for you guys that
Oh,
of what I
Doc,
did.
I'm sorry.
And I sang karaoke all night. No, I don't. So I bagged groceries. That was my big daring.
I wish I'd have known that. I'd have gone to give you some money for your fundraiser, for your daughter's fundraiser.
Yeah, well, obviously it was a relatively last minute thing, and they were very nice. I really enjoyed it. I used to work at a grocery store.
Hi,
and so,
Debbie.
and she
Hey,
also
Mama.
just popped on, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I worked at a grocery store for a number of years, and so it brought back great memories, and that is my last couple of days with you. I wish I had done something specific for Memorial Day, but I really didn't today.
Yeah,
So,
neither did I. We
Yeah.
stayed home today too, so I get it. What about you, Vikram? Dr. Vikram, sorry. How's your day? How's lately been?
2 doctors on the show. Joe's
it's-
Say
popping
one
in
by
here.
proxy. Don't forget. Sorry, my wife is.
No, it's been good. It's been pretty chill. If you hear yelling in the background, my son's cousins are over, so my niece and nephew are here.
Oh,
And they're
nice.
playing, I don't know, something in the living room, and I'm hiding in my bedroom. So
Right.
Uh,
It's called Let's Be Loud because we know he's busy.
that's exactly it. Yeah, it's
And this
fine.
is the only hour of the day that they're going to be loud because they weren't as loud
Of course.
all day before.
Oh
of
no,
course.
no, for sure. And so no, everything's good. Just it's been a chill day. We hung out at home, and I got a haircut today.
Nice.
What do y'all think?
Yeah, that
How
does.
did
I
you
like
like
it. I like your
I like it
curls.
too.
Thanks. It was like real long. It was like this long.
Yeah, I saw
And
your
so I got a lot
fashion-
cut off.
Your fashion headshot. What are those called? Beauty shots or whatever?
Beauty shot. Yeah.
Glamour shots.
Glamour shots. Thank you. Sir.
Glamour,
That's what I
glamour.
meant.
You're
Glamour
welcome.
shot, Dr. Vikram.
So,
Okay.
what else is going on? Nothing. Just the semester's over. I'm enjoying that a lot.
Woohoo!
And I'm not teaching this summer, so I've actually got a little bit of a break. It's nice.
Yeah, good.
Are you going to teach this summer, Doc, Ben?
My years of teaching in the summer, I think I've done my time. I taught for 10 years over the summers.
Oh yeah.
I
You
think
done.
I'm good.
Is that because you? Oh, what's that word? It happened to you some years ago, right?
Oh, the tenure?
What up, Stevie
Yeah,
J?
yeah. When you
Yeah.
became tenure.
No, it wasn't. No, you know what I did? I taught up in Chicago for many summers with. So what I did was I taught Spanish grammar to native speakers of Spanish, and I know that sounds odd,
Natives.
right? Yeah, it sounds like. Are you saying that correctly? But
Yeah.
most of us don't know our own grammar, right? We just know how to.
I know that's right.
We just know further or farther. We don't know what's the difference, right?
Yeah.
and
Right.
So I worked many years up there, and I really, really enjoyed that program. The students were awesome. They were from all over Latin America.
He's
and
like, I
they were-
enjoyed it from afar, though. I don't need to be there to enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. So I was like, once that finished, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Sandy?
Today was kind of really chill. Usually we'd have like people over barbecuing, but we just opted to have a quiet night, a quiet day. And I went out and took some pictures at the. Am I skipping out?
No.
No, okay. At the Veterans War Memorial here in town, and
those are some
so
great shots, by the way.
man, it was kind of emotional. There was a gentleman out
Yeah.
there that I who was playing taps, and if you've not heard Radney Foster, his Angel Flight song, man, and I was
I
out
never
there
heard
crying
it. Sandy
with
shared
them,
it with me today.
and it was very emotional. And he was over there by the Gold Star Memorial, so one can derive that maybe he had somebody that was, Gold Star family member, somebody that passed. But anyway, very emotional day. Then came home for some eye bleach. I watched Our Father on Netflix, which was crazy. That I was watching the John Wayne Gacy tapes earlier before I came on.
Okay.
She
wow.
prefaced that with eye bleach. Just
Yeah, it's just eye
missed that part,
bleach.
okay? In case you were thinking she was actually getting eye bleach and it's not two separate things. These are one thing, okay?
Just one thing. But anyway, yeah, it was good day, good relaxing day. How about you?
Today was relaxing too. I'm actually very excited right now, trying to contain myself. I didn't share that my daughter went on her 8th grade class trip to Washington, D.C. this weekend. And so she is
Is she
getting
home?
back tonight.
Oh, okay, cool.
Actually, in an hour. Her plane lands in an hour, and then we'll go pick her up from wherever we need to go pick her up after that. But I am excited to
Oh, good.
have her back home and she and I are tight, so it'll be fun. But I'm glad she went, so I've been really happy. And she barely texted or called us, which I was happy about, except when she needed money. And so she's like, Dad, I need to top
They're
up.
really good at that communication
Right.
when the funds are low.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Somehow, I don't feel like that ends in any time, right? I feel like that's probably something that just continues on indefinitely.
Alex will be like, Mama. And I'm like, oh, he needs money. Oh,
Alex is your oldest, right?
Alex is my oldest.
Okay, yeah.
My
So you're the one who has the oldest. Or what were we going to say, Vikram?
Oh no, I was gonna say my son's 6, so he doesn't ask for a lot of money yet, but he did say he's got his first loose tooth right now, and he
Oh.
did say that the tooth fairy was supposed to bring him 5 $100 bills.
Oh.
So
Inflation, man, I
Yeah.
swear.
I mean, it's hitting everybody.
What are they building
Yeah.
with teeth these days, right?
I don't know.
One of my
Tooth market's
friends,
tough.
her daughter put a letter for the tooth fairy, and she put in there she would like a bonus as well for her tooth. Like, what
real
do these
good tooth.
How old
7-year-olds
is this
know?
kid?
7, like, or 6. Like, how do you know about bonuses?
Yeah, we must talk often at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so my daughter gets home in an hour, excited to have her back home. And then, oh gosh. So the Johnny Depp case, right? I was hoping we'd get a what do you call it? A verdict on Friday. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but just hoping. And so that way I could just close the chapter on these last 24 days of watching.
I'm so
this
ready
thing
to be
from the
back to
beginning.
normal.
Yes.
Vikram, are you following any of that nonsense?
I have tried my very best not to, but I'm on TikTok a lot, and that's like all that's been on there.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
and so I've been like secondhand following it, not on purpose, but I pick up little bits every now and then.
Yeah. So I've been from day one. I haven't missed a single day and a single testimony. Ugh. They make me they sicken me a little bit, but anyway, I'm hooked. So anyway.
Vikram, will you go and try to capture the meteor storm tonight?
Gosh, I would really like to. I'm as Joe knows, I do some astrophotography and stuff. And,
Look
um,
at you.
I would
So-
love to get out and do it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see.
Is the night sky, nice up there, down there for y'all?
Yeah, you've got to get a little ways out of town, but 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Like I don't have to go too far, and depending on which direction you go.
I wonder if we'll be able to see it up here, Doc Ben.
So that's what I was going to ask real quick. So is Dr. Vikram are you here with me and Jaime? Are you in the Midwest, or where are you?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Lubbock, Texas.
Okay. All
He's
right,
with me.
I see that. Okay. All right. So that's why the question I had when I got the message. So
Yeah, it's supposed to be. You can see it everywhere, but depending on the cloud. And I know
It's central. It's midnight for central. You guys are central, right?
I thought it was 11 o'clock for Central, midnight on Eastern.
Midnight. I saw it on the TikTok.
I mean,
It has to be true.
it's
It has to
official
be.
then.
If you see it on there,
It's got to be.
it's got to be. CPJ says she told Matt that they want to take the kids to DC on Memorial Day in the future. Can you imagine? Somber.
I'll have to hear the story from my kiddo and see how things went. They
Hey,
went to a lot of
John.
places. Hey, John. Oh, get out of here with that. She kept talking about. She's like, I'm gonna get. She didn't think that they were going to, but apparently during the trip, she was like, we're gonna get to go visit my future home, and I was like, oh gosh, you better tell the president to keep your seat warm until you get there. Then. So it's
Yeah.
midnight.
Joe
Midnight.
says it's midnight.
He is with we Wreckham.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, Tim.
I was thinking about you, Tim, tonight. Actually, I meant to tag you, and things just get crazy out of hand, right? So I'm
He
glad
gets
my
to
mom-
collect in comic books.
Yeah,
Tim, you know
yeah.
how he is. One track mind.
Sorry about that. Speaking of which, let me show you. I got this really cool 2 new things real quick. So
Okay.
I got this.
That looks like a Barbie one.
So that's Gwen Stacy, one of Spider-Man's.
What's she,
First love
redhead?
interest.
Gwen Stacy?
No,
That's the other
Gwen
one.
was blonde.
Oh.
The redhead's Mary Jane, but that's a pretty cool cover. I liked it. She's now alive in the comic book series, and then this one is the Spawn character.
Who is Angela?
She's an angel that kills spawns.
Oh, now I can see. I was like, I couldn't tell what it was at first. Now I
Yeah,
can
her face
No,
with all
yeah.
the blood on it.
There you
Now,
go.
did you
Yeah,
get it
so those-
online, or did you get it?
Yeah. So you know what? If anyone knows of a programmer who can build me a bot where I can just type in the comic I'm searching for, and
Call
it goes out
Echo.
and finds the cheapest ones. What?
Message Echo. She
you
does
serious?
stuff like that. I'm pretty sure.
I think my brother can do it.
What?
He made a bot to pick up a new graphics card when it came out or whatever when it got back on the market. So he could probably do it.
1080s.
Yep.
Okay, all right. That was quick. Thank you both. That's 2 people already there. So
Listen to this.
What?
Sandy and Jamie, your assignment for tonight is to get it out of Ben where the mystery trip is that he has taken us on this weekend. Please.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doctor, where are you going?
So on Friday, I think I mentioned this last time, but on Friday, Natalia and I and 2 of her friends are going to go on a bus trip, a day trip, on the bus to Wrigley Field, right? To go
Okay,
see
cool.
Cubs Cardinals baseball, and then you come back on the same day, right?
Uh-huh.
So the next 2 days, so Saturday and Sunday, I'm taking. So the 5 of us with my mom and dad are going to go on a mystery trip that I spent all day working on today. In fact, and it's going to be in. Just kidding.
Oh, I'm like, yes.
That was pretty
We
good.
almost had it.
You know what,
Miss Debbie.
Ben? You should have gone, and then just let it pick up.
You know
and
how
go.
Jamie stays frozen?
Yeah,
That would have been great.
That's true. Yeah.
We'll
Okay,
think
oh,
about
yes.
that later on.
Drop some hints. Drop some
yeah.
some Easter eggs throughout the show.
You guys are so good. I don't know. I think
No, we're
Carrie could
not.
get. She's
No,
no, but
you
she's
give us too
really
much
good
credit.
about hints. I feel
You
like
give
if
us
I-
too much credit.
If
I
I
appreciate
dropped,
that, though.
this might be in my my VIP. Yeah, it's available for my OnlyFans page. That's the way I roll, and so unfortunately,
Sorry, Mom. We'll keep trying though. Okay, we'll see what happens. All right.
I'm in the
Tim
same
says-
category as a torn up Spider-Man comic.
Some torn up Spider-Man comics are worth a really good value. So
Tim,
I don't
some
think
are
that helped
valuable,
him out,
Tim.
actually, never mind.
Just not the
Strike
ones that are
that.
named Tim.
Strike that. So anyhow,
Overruled.
let me switch this up because I know in the comments or in the mobile, the one who's in the left-hand square over there, they get a better view. So let's.
We
Dr.
do need to
Vikram.
see Dr. Vikram's new hairstyle.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
short.
You get it's nice,
I'm
right?
enjoying it.
It's
I like
perfect for the summer.
It had been a while.
Let me preface Dr. Vikram's appearance on today's show. I asked Dr. Vikram to come onto our show earlier. Was it earlier this month or late last month?
Late last month, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I did that because April is
Showers bring May flowers.
good. That's very close, Sandy, actually. I brought him on because April is Earth Awareness Month,
Mhm.
right? I think that's
Yeah,
what it is.
Earth Day, Arbor Day, all that's usually, at least in Texas.
It's all lumped into that. And I thought,
Okay.
what better way to celebrate or bring awareness to Earth Day and to all things green, other than we should bring on.
Oh, he froze.
Oh,
Did we
he
lose
did
him?
that.
Oh, he's gone.
Or is he just doing right? Is he?
Yes,
You know,
he was
that
doing-
would be like a
teaser.
Yeah, that's like a deep cut there. If he's like, he's real good at it too.
I look at him. He's not even blinking.
So he'll probably come back, right?
Yeah, he will.
Yeah,
It just takes him a minute, and then he realizes that he's gone.
Oh, that's funny. You ever wonder what he's talking about when he's frozen?
Well, he was in the middle of telling us a story the other day, and right in the suspenseful moment, he froze.
Anyone else who has questions about that? Okay,
Oh no! He froze again.
huh?
Oh, it's a
You've
double
been frozen
freeze.
for like 30 seconds.
Oh,
We were just talking about you being
We
frozen.
thought maybe
Okay.
for a split
So-
second it was a teaser, like it was on purpose.
yeah.
but-
I'm sorry about that, everyone. If
Timing is
anything,
great.
I'm consistent with freezing, and I don't know what it is. I'm supposed to have excellent internet speeds, but I got crap.
I know, especially in
whatever.
your 3-story house in Bowling Lane.
Oh, Sandy. Anyhow, so we wanted to bring you on, Dr. Vikram, last month so that we could talk about, all things plant related. I still think it's a great time. Since then, though, I've learned that you also have a podcast and you've blown up in TikToks apparently also. And wow.
Are
like,
you
really blown
viral?
up.
Uh, I had a couple videos do pretty well. It's funny because like in the grand scheme of things, like I just passed yesterday. I just passed 30,000 followers on TikTok.
Nice.
Wow,
And
congratulations!
thanks.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like in the grand scheme of things, like any other social media, I would be like, oh my God, that's so many people. And it is. But like then you get on TikTok and some people have like, hundreds of millions of followers.
Yeah.
It's just the context is weird compared to like all the other stuff I do. But I had a video where I yelled about bananas.
So controversial.
You went
Yeah.
bananas on bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you know like what 5-minute crafts is. Like they do
Yes.
this stupid like just
I
nonsense
don't
stuff.
believe most of them. I
Oh,
don't
no.
You
believe
cut underwear and you make an awesome bra that holds better than anything that you could have ever bought at the store.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of
This
and they
is
do
fun.
like plant hacks, and half of them are they like take a banana and they do all kinds of weird stuff like they'll plant things in it or
Yeah, the
they'll-
kiwi one, right? The banana
Yeah.
and the kiwi, and it's got a middle kiwi. And you're like, whatever, man. Those stupid things have my kids believing all kinds of craziness, man.
It's
I hate
nonsense.
that stuff, Vikram.
I
hate that.
what's weird, and this is like so random and strange, but it's actually a Russian company, and they employ like 1,500 people, and they just crank out this content because people hate it so much. Like either people are like, "Oh, that's cool," and they'll share it, or people like me get mad at it, and then they'll
I'm
share
with
it.
you.
And it's a revenue stream, right? They're like getting so much attention on these
Oh.
ridiculous videos that they're all complete nonsense. They're intentionally complete nonsense.
But you know what?
they
There are
make
so many
tons of
people
money.
who believe it, right? Like lots
Yes,
of people.
we have a
believe
lot of
it.
gullible
Oh,
people.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you,
I was
Doc.
I was just saying I was yelling about bananas, and it got like I think right now it's at like 1.6 million views.
Oh,
Wow.
or something like
wow.
that. It's wild. It's been weird.
And
And
was it just
That
you
is so
ranting
cool.
on a video, like one of
Yeah,
those side
I
by
just
sides?
mhm.
Okay.
did you get hate on it?
A little, not too much.
Okay.
What I found is that anytime you get a video that goes over, 100, couple 100,000 views, and you start to get comments that are in the like hundreds, there's gonna be trolls. Like
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
my number one internet rule for like engagement on the internet everywhere is don't feed the trolls
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they
Don't
show up.
engage.
Yeah, they show up because they're hungry, right? They want
Right.
the engagement, and if you don't feed them, they go away. It's real hard to do to
Ah.
just, but that's my number one internet rule is don't feed the trolls.
5 minute crafts hate Vikram.
Do you have it set where you have to okay the comment first?
You can. The filtering on TikTok is not great,
I
and when
see.
they like, it's sort of a double-edged sword there because the more comments you get on a video, the more the algorithm boosts your content. So
Uh-huh.
like if you filter stuff a lot, you don't get the engagement, and then your video doesn't get put out there. And actually, it tends to pick up better on like controversial videos because they tend to get more comments and people argue and stuff. I don't really care what anyone on the internet thinks in general. So
Right,
like
right.
let them argue in my comments. I don't care. It gets
Sure,
Right.
more
sure.
engagement for me.
True.
So, Doc, I want to ask you real quick before we continue because I want to kind of queue up enough time for people to get thinking about questions they may have for
Sure.
you during the show. But real quick, I said that you are you got your so the last time you were on here, I don't think you had your PhD yet. You
I
were
don't
near it, right?
I don't
Mm-mm.
remember exactly when it was, but no, I think I hadn't graduated yet.
But you were in your dissertation. I know
Mhm.
I remember that much. So now you are officially Dr. Vikram, and I don't know how I don't want to mispronounce your last
Baliga.
name. Baliga. Okay.
Yeah.
So Dr. Vikram Baliga. So you
When
got
did
your
you get
PhD.
it?
Say again?
When did you defend and get your...
So I defended in July of 2020
Okay.
and then graduated in December of
Congrats.
2020.
Awesome.
Okay, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years.
Hey,
year and a half.
Rod.
So will you tell everyone real quick, because I want everyone who has questions to type them in as we go along, and even now, so that way we can get them answered later. But
We already have
tell
a question,
everyone
girl.
what horticulture is specifically.
So it's like the science of gardening, the practice of gardening. I tell people that it's like botany. Botany is kind of like biology, right? Where you study the biology of plants, how they work, those kinds of things. And just like people in medicine or zoology or whatever apply biology to whatever they're doing, I think of horticulture as like applied botany, right? You take the information, the basic science, and you apply it to actually growing stuff and doing things. So it's science, but it's very much an applied science. So my work has mostly been in like small acreage food production. I worked with a lot of farmers that are growing things on 10 acres or less, farmers market kind of people,
Uh-huh.
and then also in water and resource conservation.
Ooh, that's a big deal in
Especially here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so that with that being said, everyone, if you have any questions related to planting, like anything gardening type questions, I think Dr. Vikram can help you out and help you understand. But especially if you're a farmer on here, which now that we mention it, when you start talking next, I'm gonna make sure to tag a friend of mine who's a farmer because up here
Okay.
where Dr. Ben and I are, there's a lot of farmland. There's a lot of they rotate the crops between corn and soybeans up here, and corn that everyone eats, and corn that's processed for like vehicles.
Yeah, biofuels and stuff.
There you
Yeah.
go, biofuels. That's what I mean. So, and you can see all those different tags. But it's if it's corn this year, next year it's soybean, and vice versa. They just keep rotating that out everywhere else. So, anyway, with that being said, everyone, if you have questions about your garden, ask Dr. Vikram now. But let's go
Okay.
ahead and move on. Or did you said you had a question already, Sam?
Yeah,
right?
there's already a question in the
Oh,
comments.
go ahead.
So first question, Dr. Vikram, can we please talk about how this hot blow sand wind in Lubbock is hurting even getting grass up well this year, let alone our flowers? I feel like everything is running so much faster this year.
Good question.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of wind and we've had a lot of heat early and very little rain. If you ignore the past week, um, we've had I think before the past week or two when we actually got a decent rain, we'd had like 3/10 of an inch of rain all year.
Hmm.
Maybe an inch and a half since October. Like
Wow.
it's been bad.
Oh,
And so yeah, when the sand starts blowing and it's like being in a big convection oven, right? Like it's
Yes.
not just that it's hot, it's that hot air is moving so much. And so we do see a lot of burn on plants and stuff. It looks like, and I'm not a meteorologist, but it looks like we're kind of getting into at least temporarily a wetter kind of weather thing.
mhm.
So if it keeps raining, and kind of, it looks like we may get down in the 70s for highs this week.
I know. I
Think
heard we had a cold front coming in.
I'm excited.
I know, me
Uh,
too.
Things will start looking a little bit happier. Everything's just late this year because it's been so dry.
And then the hailstorm didn't help a lot of people. It held out a bunch of theirs. My mom, all of her plants. She was like, "Look at what the hail did." So a lot of her plants were butchered. They live in Morton. I don't know if you
Okay,
saw
yeah.
that tornado. So
Hmm.
yeah, they got a ton of hail. So
So I just did a quick Google search because I just kind of wanted to get a perspective from you guys and us up here, right? So I did just like average rainfall in Lubbock, Texas says it's about
Lubbock,
19
Texas.
inches. 19 inches.
Hmm.
But up here for us, we have 39.
Bragger.
So that's
So,
a
so
pretty big
yeah,
disparity.
dry is normal for us, but
Uh-huh.
not this dry. Like we're
Gotcha.
we're way behind.
Yeah.
And honestly, the spring rain, like yeah, we dry out through the summer a little bit, and that is what it is, right? But the spring rain is what's really important for getting plants up and started and going, and we just haven't had it.
Mm,
I'm hoping we're kind of turning that around. Uh, I would say if you're trying to get your garden going, people don't like hearing this, but just like don't worry about the grass, just let it go. Make sure you keep your trees alive. Water your trees specifically. Water them like heavily and kind of infrequently. So if you like flood the area around your trees once a week, once every 10 days, for the most part, grass goes dormant. And when it starts raining again, it'll come back, unless you have like fescue or something. But
which is what everyone wants, right? 'Cause
yeah,
Fescue's that nice grass, but
yeah, and it doesn't like the heat. But if you have like a warm season grass like Bermuda, buffalo grass, it does. If it'll go dormant during the summer, it kind of turns brown or gray. But then when it rains, it comes right back in 2 or 3 days. So like I tell people, don't worry about the grass. It's even if you have to replace it, it's kind of cheap to replace. You
Mhm.
can't replace a big tree in your landscape. So water the
Mm.
trees, and then
that's
let the
pretty
rest
good.
take care of itself.
I'm glad you say it like that. I had
Yeah,
never really
really.
thought about that, to be honest with you. So I want to ask something about that in that vein, Dr. Vikram. When my wife and I were living in Texas, I was born and raised there. I only left back in 2010
Late.
or 8. Yeah, 2008. And we were considering actually getting rid of grass in our yard and just going with fake
Zero
grass.
scape. Zero scape's the best.
Is that what that is, Sandy? When you fake
Well,
grass?
zero scape and then turf. You said fake
Okay.
grass.
Yeah, so it would just be perpetually green all year long, but
No
never
mowing.
needed to be mowed. You
Yeah.
needed to do that air thing so you'd get all the junk out of it, but it would be green. And there was a few houses in Lubbock that we went around and looked at. We're like, man, it actually looks really nice. Looks fake in the off seasons, but it looks great during the on season, if that makes sense. So in Lubbock, do you feel like, or in any places where there's a lot of dry, not water, are you pro, zeroscape? I guess is kind of what Sandy said, or do you have a opinion
Yeah,
on that?
yes and no. So I'm very pro like xeriscape drought tolerant landscapes, but I don't love personally. I don't love artificial grass, because it adds heat to the system, right? And unfortunately, like the hotter it gets in an area, the drier it gets. Like we can create deserts by raising the heat. And I did a little experiment. It was not like real science, but it was just like a little informal experiment where I went out on a few days at 2 in the afternoon when it was like 100 degrees, and I took surface temperatures with a little laser thermometer. So
Mhm.
like growing grass that's actively growing, a 100-degree day was about 90 degrees at the surface. Like it was cooler than ambient, right? Sidewalk was about 125. Asphalt was about 140. And artificial turf was about 170 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh
Oh my
my.
gosh, be serious.
There are kids that play sports like football and baseball on artificial turf out here, and they'll go through 2 or 3 pairs of cleats because the glue melts. It raises injuries. It creates more heat. I am not a fan. Also, it's a petroleum product, right? So it takes a lot of gas to its plastic, and it costs about 10 times as much as just putting in turf grass. And like living like turf grass. So I tell people, like, if you want grass, grow grass. Just pick the most drought tolerant, well adapted grass you can get, right? So that you don't have to water it a lot, that your supplemental irrigation is pretty low. I'm very much not a fan of artificial turf. Like, it looks good, and I think if there's like a shady spot, like under a tree where you just want some green, that's fine as long as it doesn't sit in the sun. But like in the full sun, it is unmanageably hot, in my opinion.
That is crazy. I never.
And you have to think about your pets. Like,
Yeah.
they can burn their little paws off.
Yep.
I'm mind blown with this
Yeah,
information.
it gets real
I
hot.
really had no idea like that. We don't have to worry about that up here now, though. Let me make sure, with 39 inches of rain average, Dr. Ben and I are not looking for any artificial grasses up here anytime soon.
So, question.
Go for it.
Dr. Vikram, can you please speak on what drought means, soaking versus giving a drink, how that impacts roots and future growth?
So drought, it's sort of a sliding scale depending on where you look or who you talk to, and like the severity of drought, it just depends. Pretty much, it's long periods without normal rainfall, right? So even if we're getting rain, if we're say 30% behind our normal yearly average, we would say that we're in a drought, right? If we're 50%, we're in a moderate. I'm kind of making these numbers up, but it's like a graded scale. That depending on how much rain we've gotten versus the normal, we'll say that we're in drought conditions. Soaking is the best way to water any plant. You want to water infrequently and heavily. So I'm trying to think of this most simple way to explain this. Soil dries from the top down, right? Okay. Water moves down through gravity, and evaporation is the worst up at the top. So if you're putting just a little bit of water in every day, you're only saturating the top couple inches of soil, and that burns off, right? The plants use it up, it evaporates, all of that. But if you water, say you're trying to put down an inch of water a week or something similar to that, instead of putting down like a tenth of an inch every day, put all of that down either on one day or in 2 applications. That moves water deeper into the soil. The roots will go down deeper chasing it. So if you water like infrequently and a little more heavily, you actually get more drought tolerant plants. And they survive longer. And then like if it doesn't rain, they can last a little bit longer in that. And it's more just water efficient.
But there is also a time to water and not to water. Like, you don't water at 2:00 in the afternoon, right?
Right.
Because that burns your plants.
It can, and the evaporation's worse. Typically, it's windier then. I recommend people water like early in the morning, 2-3 a.m.
Okay.
That way, it has time to like soak into the soil. Any water that's like left on leaves that may cause like disease if it's there too long burns off early in the morning. The water demand is lower, so you get better pressure. There's not a lot of people up showering and using municipal water at 2 or 3 in the morning. So like system wide, like all things considered, that's the best time to water, is like before anyone gets up. Set a timer if you can, if not, early in the morning is good, as early as you can. And then you just let it do its thing, and usually that works out pretty well.
So that would be, do you feel like that's advice across the board, Dr. Vikram, or is that more just for drought? Because you remember, again, like up here in the north, I'm sure we have something that's similar to that. We flood a lot. Our floods are insane.
I would say if you're irrigating, that's probably best practice wherever you are. Actually, probably even more so in humid climates. Because if you water like in the evening, your grass just stays sitting wet all night. And like fungal diseases, things like that typically get worse in like really humid environments. So you don't want to leave extra humidity around the like leaves of your plants overnight. If you don't have to. Rainwater's different. It's a different. I'm working as many plant puns.
Okay.
My students hate
I
it.
felt like
They
I
hate
caught that. I was only funny to me, maybe, but
my students hate it. But yeah, so I would say that's best practice regardless of where you are.
okay, cool.
Just as our average rainfall right now is 0.
Sure feels that way.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt.
For
Okay,
you, Dr. Ben.
Okay. Banana is a note.
Stop it.
It is a note. It is a note. But I can't. I don't think I can come up with a specific name. A cologne or perfume. I know there are because on Fragrantica you can search by notes. You can actually search right.
So is it a heavy note then, or is it one where it's like, wow, I never would realize that they would use
It's
banana?
usually a little lighter, but I remember I remember there weren't a lot of fragrances, but I know there was at least, let's say, 10 out there that had banana as a note.
So, Dr. Vikram, we talked about a little how Dr. Ben over here has his PhD in linguistics, but he has a YouTube channel called That Cologne Guy where he expertly reviews, detailed, meticulous reviews on colognes and perfumes. And this man is, genius level when it comes to odor. I don't want to say odor is like a bad thing.
Right.
Sorry.
Fragrances, scents.
Yeah, so
Aromas,
just
fragrance.
FYI, and we'll get that plugged out later. So for anyone else who's joining you tonight who's wondering about Dr. Ben and why it says That Cologne Guy, he's got a YouTube channel called That Cologne Guy.
Awesome.
Expert.
I sent Dr. Ben on a new mission.
Oh, that's right, you did.
I sent, there's this lady that was catfish. She turned around foolishly because there was somebody that smelled so good, but he wasn't that attractive. So
Yeah.
Dr. Ben now has a cologne that needs to match the face of the person.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said probably Invictus or something, right? That everyone
I thought that was funny, Sandy. That was a good one.
even my dog apparently likes your joke, so I'll be right back.
Thank you so much. So Joanne says, we pay a ton of money to keep our grass nice and green. I would hate to try and vacuum fake turf with all the darn dirt that flies. For real. They would be brown before you do it.
I've seen
that's a good
weeds
point.
come up in fake grass because we get so much sand blowing in.
Yeah. So let's. I want to take a break real quick from a lot of the plant talk, Doctor, because a minute ago you said your students really love your puns and all the jokes that you say. So I want to talk about this real quick because in listening to your podcast today, I heard an episode where one of your students came on to your episode, right? You mentioned, actually, why don't you tell us? You mentioned why he came on in there, but if you could tell everyone else.
Yeah, so I teach a big intro horticulture class, and I feel like the thing that we're trying to teach them through that is just the basic scientific process and how to communicate about that kind of thing, like evaluate information, all that. So I don't think it's a secret for most people that like the exams that we give are probably the worst way to test knowledge in general. Like they don't do the job that we're trying to get them to do. So at the end of the semester, I have them do a little science communication project. And they have to pick a topic from the class. I give them some samples, but really they can do anything about plants or water or whatever. And they either have to do a 5 to 7 minute podcast episode, a YouTube video, like vlog style, or really whatever. I had a girl a couple of last semester, in the fall, go and interview managers of community gardens. She was doing her project over public green space. Or they can do a 3-minute TikTok, or they can write a paper. And so it's really whatever form of communication they're most comfortable with. And so this one student was like, well, I wanted to do a podcast, but you have a podcast. Can I just come on your podcast? And I was like, well, yeah, okay. Why not? Sure.
Right.
You did
You're
very
like,
well.
I need to fill up the episode and you need a grade. So I guess
Why not?
It's beneficial.
But it was fun. It was kind of different. And I just I feel like they learn a lot more when they have to like take information and process it in some way to like tell other people about it. And so science communication is important. It's like a thing that we do and that we have to do. And I tell them, if you're taking this class and people know it, they're going to ask you something about plants. Like it's how it works.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Better for
I
better or worse.
I liked when I was listening to that, because it was one of your shorter episodes, right? Because
Mhm.
it was only about a 30-minute episode. But one of the things that I really appreciated about listening to that earlier this evening was how it sounded like he was very excited to go back to San Antonio and take
Mhm.
this knowledge. And because I think he had a brother or something like that who ran some sort of,
I think so. Yeah.
there was some sort of family member that ran some sort of flower or gardening type business or something like that. And I was like, man, I really love that whole idea about, like, that's what college is about, right? You
Mhm.
go, you learn, you take that knowledge to do something with it. And so hearing him talk about how he wanted to go back to San Antonio and use that information with it. He was also interested in that episode. He was talking about how there were some things he didn't know, like the basics. And I thought that was interesting. So I wanted to ask you about one of your other episodes, though, which was your most recent episode.
Trying to remember what the most recent one was.
So I don't remember his name, but it was fascinating because he was the evolutionary biologist.
Yes. Yep.
I think that was what he
I think
did,
that was
right?
Matt Johnson, I think.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna have
he
to look.
came on, and I want to re-listen to that one because there was a lot of stuff you guys were talking about that was just fascinating. As I didn't realize you were such, and I mean this in the best way possible, I didn't realize how big of a geek you were, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm such a nerd. I really get into this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, I love your shirt.
Oh, thank
Are
you.
those poppies?
They're so I don't know what the flowers are actually supposed to be, but the leaves are ginkgo biloba, which is one of the oldest species of plants that we still have. There's one plant in the genus, so it's just this guy, and it's been relatively unchanged for they think a couple 100 million years. Like, it's just been around for a long time. So
wow.
it's a cool plant. They smell bad, but they're really pretty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good
And we
in
drink
tea,
them like
right?
crazy.
That's one that's put in tea, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's used medicinally and religiously and culturally a lot in the East. They're common in throughout Asia. So there's a lot of Chinese lore and Chinese ritual and religious practice that are tied up in it, and across several East Asian religions. And so it's really a cool plant. They don't do great here. There's a few around town, but if you're like in a more humid environment, probably where y'all are, or even like in East Texas, they're big trees and they turn this like vibrant, bright gold in the fall. They're gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize they were trees.
Interesting.
I just learned something new.
I thought it was a little vitamin at the store.
And that's what I was going to say. They America capitalizes that as a memory pill or something like that, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but you found your guest on your podcast for this most recent episode, and you guys were talking about a lot. And I felt like there was just some. It spoke to your not background, but your PhD, your level, right? Your level of education. I thought when I was listening to that, you seemed just as excited to learn some of the stuff that he was talking about as kids do when they learn new stuff that they're like, whoa. And I think that definitely came through.
Like us with ambergris.
Yes.
It's how it should be, right? You can't get more exciting than. I mean, that's what the irony is when you walk into a classroom and you see people who have turned, for many reasons, right, have either had that turned off for them or they've turned that off, right? Yeah. So it's weird how you will have this natural curiosity about something, and then you step into a place of learning, and you lose that. So. I certainly commend you for keeping the spark.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm not in academia for the money. Clearly, I mean, I could go to industry and make 3 times as much as I do now.
Yep.
But it's that there's 2 sides of it. Like, I don't do a lot of research. I'm teaching faculty, so I mostly am in the classroom, and I run the greenhouse and gardens here on campus at Texas Tech.
Okay, so you're not tenure track?
No, right now I'm a lecturer. We're working on getting me I don't know what the word is, getting a title changed to a assistant professor of practice.
Okay,
but it'll be not that's not traditional tenure, but it's a teaching faculty position.
I see.
But I enjoy the challenge of having to keep myself like intellectually sort of motivated. Like, I enjoy that. So it keeps me in the literature. It keeps me learning new things. But like, I teach non-majors and I teach a lot of freshmen. So I have this rare opportunity to teach them something new as a young adult. Um, uh, and that's exciting seeing them. Most of them will never go and like plant anything or really care that much about plants after my class. But like I can find a few things that they're excited about that they think are interesting. And like at some point, kind of like you're saying, you lose that capacity for wonder for new things. And like
Mhm.
this is something that's completely foreign to most of them. And so I throw like as many just as in with the material we teach, just as many like interesting plant factoids as I can, because even if it gets one of them interested in learning more about our environment or climate change or growing their own food or the food supply or whatever, like I feel like I've done my job, and that makes me it's very like fulfilling for me as an academic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. When you speak like that, Dr. Vikram, it makes me wonder what's one of the things, or maybe what's one of the last things that you can recall this semester teaching your students that really made them have one of those. It's like, whoa.
um I'm trying to think. So I talk I a lot of courses like mine, they talk about ecology early on. I save
Mhm.
it till the end. I kind of start from the specifics and talk about like the biology of plants and then build up to like ecosystem level stuff. And I think what gets them a lot of times is how applicable managing an ecosystem is to like managing their own lives. Like I talk
Mhm.
about human life as like you're managing your own personal ecosystem, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
a resilient ecosystem has lots of different things that keep it in balance, right? There's lots of different species that keep it healthy. There's sources of food. There's sources of X, Y, and Z. So if like one of those things gets pulled out, the ecosystem kind of stands up on its own, right? There's
Mhm.
other things to fill the gaps. So I kind of apply that to living a fulfilling life in a lot of ways, where if you manage your personal ecosystem between your health, your hobbies, your education, personal relationships, all of those things, like y- stuff happens, right? Like life's complicated.
Mhm.
And especially right now, like stuff kind of sucks sometimes, like for a lot of
Mhm.
us. And just on if you turn on the news, you want to turn it right back off sometimes. Or if you're
Right.
watching a nonsense like court case, sometimes it's a lot. Uh,
What?
but if we can build sort of like this resilience into our own personal ecosystems and then take those concepts and apply it to the global ecosystem, like we are not separate from nature. And
Mm.
that's something that people like they never have thought about before, is like we're over here and the nature's over here, but we're not. We are part of the system. And
Mhm.
so
Right.
like at every level of like complexity, what we're doing in our lives and in our environment is managing ecosystems. That's all we do. Whether we realize it or not, that is the basis for life on this planet, is managing our own ecosystems and then applying that further on.
So when you're saying about managing your ecosystems, it reminds me of what your guest had said on there about the moss, right? How he
Mhm.
was talking about how like one of the mosses, they're their own species, but you can have two different mosses that are next to each other and they're not interacting, and they're still, at least that's the way I understood it, right? They're still producing their own, um,
Mhm.
that, whatever you want to say, their own cells or whatever, however way that is. But it makes me think of how you were saying right now is like a lot of times we think of our own ecology or whatever
Mhm.
ourselves, but it's part of a bigger thing. Like ours isn't as siloed as those mosses that he was talking about, because what we do does impact everywhere, even as far, between the distance between both of us, what we do up here affects the lives of people down there and vice versa.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
and yeah, and I think like socially, we've got so many just like crazy social problems right now, is globally, but like in the US right now specifically, like we're dealing with all this stuff. And I think it's because people have convinced themselves that they exist in a vacuum, and like
mm,
the things that I do only affect me and my immediate surroundings, when that's not the truth. Like everything we do affects everything else. Everything is connected.
that's a powerful message.
It is. I'm just like thinking on it, like,
Right?
man.
Interconnectedness.
Like
And
that's just
I
that's
don't know
yeah.
if this was supposed to be this serious, but like this, it's something that's important to me. It's something that I think is like, and so when I don't feed the trolls on TikTok or whatever, and like when I interact, I try, and I'm not great at it, but I try to filter uh my actions, my words, the things that I do through the filter of this is going to affect someone else in some way, even if it's not directly clear. Even if it's like this butterfly effect thing of like a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the planet causes hurricanes on the other. It's not really true, but it's still poignant, right? It's still kind of
Right.
so I think if we were all just a little more conscious of the decisions I make affect literally everything else, we may be more careful with the way that we make decisions.
Right. I'm sorry. You know what I did? I looked at the comments, and I shouldn't have looked at the comments.
Did you? I was like,
Yeah.
I'm behind on it, but I haven't found a good time to interrupt.
I looked at the wrong ones, so I shouldn't listen to the trolls.
Oh, I thought you meant the comments for the show for this episode.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
comments right now,
okay.
and Sean is
Because
making noise about me.
because
and
Sean is
that's
being
not the-
funny.
Yeah, he is.
Gotcha.
Man, it was just deep what you're talking about, but yeah, I shouldn't have looked at the comments.
So let's bring it back to Sandy and her questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, let's hear them.
So, Dr. Vikram, I am currently in the process of building a home. And so I want to have like this awesome backyard oasis because I was inspired by a bar that I found. And there is an outdoor bar, and they had all these trees, and they had this beautiful sitting area. And I just want to be out there and drink with Mother Nature. So I want to know, like, what trees can I put out there for our climate so that I can achieve that goal?
So there are a lot of options. I would recommend. So there's two like sources, and I can give you a few. Like I can throw some names of trees at you, but like I think around here things like bur oaks are really nice. There's a few elms that do really well. Lace bark
Write that
elm
down,
and
Jamie.
a couple others.
Go back and watch it.
Chinese pistache does really well. I can send you a list, but you can also look at like the Lubbock Master Gardener's website. They have a tree list on there.
Okay.
And a plant list. And there's also like the Texas Forest Service has, you can plug in your county and stuff, and it'll spit out a list of like, these are great trees for your area. So there's like, those resources are out there and they're free.
Okay.
So what I would say is for what you want to do is think of your garden. Like, so you're designing a house right now, or you're in the process of, you have done design.
I have a basement is what I have so far.
They do start with that.
We call it a
usually.
room up here, Dr. Ben.
Yeah. Yep.
So what I would say is, as you think about your landscape, think about it the same way you thought about your house and build outdoor rooms. Okay. So like this section over here is for a seating area, and you think about like screening this off, and I'm going to put plants that so think about it this way. The rooms that you spend the most time in probably get the most attention, right? As far as like cleaning, tidying, think of your landscape the same way. If there is a place where you're going to be sitting a lot, probably put the highest maintenance plants there because you're going to see them more and you're going to take care of them more. Places where you're not going to spend as much time, plant like some native plants, some trees, things that sort of take care of themselves. You don't have to prune on a whole lot. And then just create like rooms in the landscape, and then you can actually use it like you want to, and like sit out there and hang out and drink or whatever. And that's probably the best way to think about building a landscape.
Okay. And as far as a tree line goes, because I'm going to be on 10 acres, so I need like wind blocks. And so what is the ideal for that?
I would say
boob blocks.
Yes.
I would say plant Afghan pine. They grow fast. They do well in our climate. They get really big. And plant them primarily on the southwest corner of your property, or the place that you're going to use the most.
Oh, is there a follow-up with that? Is there a how do you say it? Is there a height requirement that you would want to get those planted at? Does that make sense?
So
like you shouldn't plant it if it's below 6 inches, you know what I'm saying? So that way
when you buy the material,
yeah, like if she buy it, like she shouldn't go plant the seeds. She'll probably buy the tree,
I would recommend probably that. So I tell people, buy the biggest tree that you can afford and feasibly plant. So, the more mature your trees are when you put them in, the faster you'll get a good windbreak. I would probably not plant anything smaller than for the purpose that you're going for, and depending on how many you're trying to plant. If you can find a tree that's like 3-4 feet tall to start with, at least, these trees, once they're established, will put on 18 or more inches per year of growth. Like they grow
Okay.
fast,
Wow.
and so in a few years you'll have some big trees out there.
Okay, perfect. And I also want the whole purpose. This COVID did this to us. We had a beautiful home, we had a pool, and we sold it because we were like, we need to be able to live off the land and plant our own food and stuff like that. I don't have a green thumb. So, like, can I, because my thoughts are to buy a greenhouse and have like my veggies and stuff in there. Is that like doable? Is that a thing? Would you
I
recommend it?
You could, and it's not a bad idea. I think in general, if you have a good windbreak, that's going to stop some of that sandy, sand blaster convection oven that we live in. Uh, you can grow pretty much any vegetables you want here. I mean, in all honesty, you could start them in a little greenhouse so they're a little more mature when you plant them out. Um, but people think that stuff doesn't grow here, and it's just that they're trying to grow the wrong things in the wrong seasons. So, like, I can't think of any vegetables that you just cannot grow here. Like, you just have to pick the right season to do it.
Okay.
So,
Kind of piggybacking off of that, as far as greenhouse is concerned, I know I've looked in the past on hydroponics. Do you have an opinion on that? Is that a good or not? Or,
yeah, I think it's great. We do a lot of work in hydroponics at the greenhouse at Tech. That's where a lot of the new research we're working on is going. I think it's great in general. I think on a small scale, it can be kind of challenging because you have to have pumps and you've got to keep things running. And the simplest system is you get a bucket of water and put an air stone in it, and then like get a piece of foam and stick plants in it, and the roots grow down in the water. And that's hydroponics. But so some of these big fancy systems take a little bit to. But I think what's cool about it in the grand scheme of things is like we can turn old shopping malls into food production. We can turn basements of buildings, Walmarts, old, literally anywhere you could put a light and a little system, you can grow food. And so, as we think about how do we make urban ecosystems more resilient, like we could take old derelict buildings and turn them into food production factories, and be more at least locally sort of self-sufficient in some of our food supply. Like we're never going to replace, I don't think, in this day and age, like this whole international food market. I just don't see it happening. And if we have to, we've got bigger problems at the at the time that
Right.
that's happening.
Right.
But I think the more like locally and regionally sort of resilient we can be, it means less empty shelves when stuff happens. And so I think anything we can do to give. So I'm going to say, I know we're running out of time. I would say growing your own food is a radical act in today's world, because that's not the way that it's done. But at the same time, I think we have to think like, okay, how do we supplement our food supply with things I can grow,
Yes.
but then
Yeah.
work, on the policy side to make sure that food is more available for everyone at the larger scale.
Right.
Because I don't think that the grocery store is going away. Like I think that's
Yeah.
part of our life from here on, unless something crazy happens. But I do think if you can grow a little bit of your own food, figure out how to preserve it, that's all good.
Yeah. I'm with Sandy. I'm with you, Sandy. I'd love to start figuring out how to grow my own food more, supplement those veggies and fruits over here. I've got fruit stuff in the backyard growing. It's nowhere close for maturity, but
Growing up, we had all sorts of fruit trees. We had apple trees, we had apricots, we had pecan trees, and I would love to be able to do that again. We had pear trees. I mean, we had everything. And so I would love to be able to have that, on my land.
Yeah, and all those things you listed do great here. I've got actually an apricot tree and a pear tree in my backyard, and I have a little peach orchard west of Lubbock, and it's across the street from a pecan orchard, and so like all those things grow well here and do great.
What about a globe willow? Will they grow here?
They will. They kind of need a lot of water. They tend to grow around the edges of ponds and stuff, so they're sort of a water, but they do well.
Is it like a weeping willow type? Is that what that is?
Yes, except they're more like upright, so they're
Oh, okay.
kind of lollipop shaped.
Oh, interesting.
Would you recommend for somebody? I also don't have a green thumb, a newbie. Would you recommend raised gardens for the first time?
I think raised beds are great.
Raised beds.
Yeah. Raised gardens, raised beds are great. The nice thing about that is you can turn anything into a container garden if you can put soil in it. I tell you what, one of the best things that you can buy for a raised bed, if you don't, like, because wood is crazy expensive right now,
Right.
and you have to have some sort of construction skill to build a wooden raised bed, and some people just don't, or they don't have the tools. You can buy cheap stock tanks at like any feed store wherever you are. There's always going to be a feed store probably within, not too far. They're not that expensive. You can get galvanized steel ones that will last a long time.
Okay.
I line them with weed fabric, fill them up with soil, punch some holes in the bottom of them so they drain, and you have a raised bed you can put anywhere.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Tanks.
While you
Yeah.
look for that, Joe says, when I can start growing tacos, I will be in. Until
Holla!
then, I ain't growing crap.
Joe, if you can figure that out, you can buy
Yeah.
Twitter.
There you go.
Yeah.
$1 million right there. I would be more concerned about a potato seller here in Lubbock and how to can than I would be about growing. Oh, and how to can than I would be about growing.
What's a
Yeah, I
potato seller?
think being able to just a way to preserve, food. It's like an underground cooler space where you just like, that's where they would store potatoes, like essentially in a basement, sort of.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
I see these things. Doc, you and I are gonna have to take a trip to the farming fleet up here and grab one of these, and we'll have to do it together and be like, how's yours looking? How's mine? And then
Y'all can compare.
Yeah. Like,
I've been going
what are we growing?
Dr. Vikram, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Maybe it's everyone knows about it. I think it's called The Spruce. It's a website, right? And I've found that one is pretty good about, helping the newbies along. And because that was the challenge for me initially, was to find, something that would really help somebody who is seriously at level 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great site. And you just have to, like, a lot of these blog style sites, you have to take some stuff with a grain of salt, but I've found the Spruce is really pretty good.
Okay.
Like, if they cite their sources on their articles, which they tend to, and they're not self-referential, like some of these blogs, like, will put links in the bottom, but they're all links to other blog articles on the same website. I'm like, that's not a source. The other places you can look, depending on what part of the country you're in, Cornell has some great newbie resources on their for the Northeast. University of Missouri has great resources. UC Davis out in California, and then Texas A&M here in the South Central U.S. And if you pick those places, University of Florida for the Southeast. So if you pick some of those places, you can sort of piece together good information for wherever you live, wherever you're watching from.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much for those resources, and always good to get a UC Davis reference, which is right on my PhD. So.
Oh, cool.
Nice. So CPJ says, so Dr. Vikram and Dr. Ben, what are your favorite plant cologne smells? Dr. V, can you smell flower plants in cologne? Asking because I see cologne labels that say magnolia, and I'm like, nope.
I don't know if I could pick one out of a cologne. Like, vanilla's easy. So I actually like the smell of magnolias. I don't know that I'd wear it because it's a lot. One of my favorite smells, or one of my favorite flowers that I think smells the best, is a very poisonous one. So oleander, I don't know if you've seen oleander. It grows, like, if you've been to anywhere in Arizona, it's everywhere. It's like a shrub that's lining the streets. It's got either pink or white or red flowers. It's super toxic, like every part of the plant. Like, you can't even burn it. If you burn it and inhale smoke, it's not good for you. But the flowers, like, you can smell the flowers and it won't hurt you because it's a sort of a different thing. To me, they smell like Earl Grey tea with honey in them, and it's my favorite flower smell.
Whoa!
Just probably don't eat it or touch it too much. But they grow them as street trees. They're everywhere. They grow them. They're super common landscape plants, and people don't realize how toxic they are.
That is interesting.
But they're very pretty.
Okay, another question. Matt wants to know if there are places in Lubbock for free compost here.
That's such a good question, CPJ.
Free compost. I don't know. I'm trying to think of anywhere that has free compost. A lot of the community gardens do keep compost and keep compost piles. I know we manage, as my department manages, and by my department I mean this guy,
Right.
the Heart of Lubbock Community Garden, because I'm the garden guy. So they're like, hey, you need another thing to do.
It's good on
So
your resume.
we keep some compost there. Um, and we mostly use it in the garden. The city of Lubbock does not necessarily have compost, but they do have free mulch at least, and you can easily compost that pretty quickly. Usually it's been sitting out for a little while. So you can go down to the landfill and just tell them, hey, I'm here for mulch. And they'll say, great. And you can either shovel it yourself, or if you can talk one of the guys with a loader into putting it in your truck, it is very free. I recommend people cover it for a month just so that any like plant diseases or weed seeds or whatever that are in it will kind of get burned up. You just throw a tarp over it, keep it wet, it'll start composting. There are some places that offer bulk compost. There's a place called Back to Nature just outside of Lubbock that does cotton burr compost, which is a limitless resource here in West Texas. And it's really pretty good. And some of the nurseries will bring in compost from different sources. It's hard to get free compost. It's not that hard to make yourself. It's just time consuming.
I want to start doing composting here at my house. I just don't know where to start, and so I don't start.
Put stuff in a pile and water it every now and then.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like table scraps, vegetables, banana peels, since we're on bananas today. They recommend you don't use like any meat products. But any vegetable products, any other kinds of organic matter, grass clippings, leaf clippings.
Does it attract critters?
It doesn't tend to if you keep it like aerated. So what they recommend is you water it like once a week. Just spray some water over the top.
Because I have bad luck with critters, Doc.
Do what?
I have bad luck with critters, Doc. So I'm not trying to. I just got rid of them. I'm not trying to.
You don't want new critters. If you can keep it turned, so take a pitchfork or a rake or whatever, and just sort of turn it, fluff it up every week when you water it. Usually it may attract some things at first, but pretty quick it starts breaking down, and most animals will just sort of leave it alone.
I'm gonna have to look into that because my HOA might have a problem with me doing stuff like that.
Coffee grounds great, eggshells great, just no protein. Oh, okay.
And technically you can. I hesitate to say this because it's heavily qualified. You can technically compost anything. You just have to get the compost pile hot enough. So if you're really actively watering and turning it, the microbial activity in a compost pile will get that internal temperature up to about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you can manage your compost pile and keep it turned, you can actually compost anything. We typically recommend not using any protein products, animal products, any manures from carnivores. So like dog poop's not good because they carry a lot of like E. coli and other bacteria.
Plasmosis,
toxoplasmosis.
Yes. Yes. I mean, for sure. And all kinds of other stuff you don't want. And most people are not going to manage it that intensely and can't get that internal temperature up high enough. So that's why, any kind of other non-protein table scraps are totally safe. And
I'm conflicted when you say 165. Not that I don't believe you, but because my food service training tells me 140 is the magic number. And so when we say 165,
chicken,
we're killing a lot of the bacteria.
Well, and they say that just because it's enough to kill the most part, it'll denature the proteins in like viruses, in most bacteria, most fungi. There's some of these like fungi and other extremophiles that can take like incredibly high temperatures. And so you get up into these 140 to 160 range and you can kill most of the bad stuff that'd be in there.
Huh.
Wow.
So Joanne says her dad used to use cotton compost for the garden in the yard. Interesting.
Yeah, we end up with these big mountains of cotton burrs, cotton seed from the cotton gins. And instead of it just like sitting there in a pile or getting buried, they compost it, and it's really pretty good stuff.
I'm gonna look into that. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know this is easily going and going and going.
Hold on,
and,
Dr. Ben has the one more
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry. I just go ahead.
I just want to. No, it was
No, go
like
ahead.
30 seconds. I just wanted to apologize when Dr. Vikram was talking toward the end there. I was looking down because before we ended, I did want to say that there are well over 50 colognes that have a banana note. So I just wanted to,
All right.
I wanted to end that discussion. I did double check.
All right.
Most of them are women's perfumes, but I wanted to know that. So I know you won't.
But you know what? If you
easily.
wore that, I wouldn't know it was a woman's perfume. I would say it's a banana perfume smell.
Sure.
Cologne,
Sure.
whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. But thanks for the additional time.
That's fine.
And if you're not cute, wear banana perfume so nobody will turn around.
Yeah. So, you wear it, but it might not be appealing. All right. Sorry.
Oh.
That's such a good note to end on.
So good, Dr.
You guys
Ben.
are too good. You guys are too good. Okay, so we're past time, but still, that's fine. What I'd like to do right now is, Dr. Vikram, we have a time during the show where we want to give our guests an opportunity to kind of just plug whatever it is they want to. And with that being said, we want to give you the screen. Whoops, wait. Why didn't it? Hold on real quick. All right, here we go.
Banana Republic. I think that. All right. So, yeah, you can find me on TikTok. I am at the Plant Prof, the Plant PROF. My podcast is called Planthropology. It's like the anthropology of plants and nature. So it's anthropology with PL on the front. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find the podcast wherever you'd like. I'm about 2.5 years into it, so I've been doing it for a minute. But that's mostly it. I guess I should plug my department if you're interested in learning about plants. We do that here. You can learn about plants from me, and it's fun. So that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come back with us one more time. We appreciate it very much.
It was fun.
How often did the podcast come out?
If I'm on my game every week.
Every week, okay.
Lately, not so much, but in general, it's a weekly podcast.
Okay,
it's really good.
Thursdays.
It's really fun.
Well,
I listened to like 3 or 4 episodes today, and it was easy to listen to. So I enjoyed it. This last episode was really good, though. It was my favorite one, the most recent episode.
Where can we see everyone's shooting star pics that they take tonight?
Oh, Sandy, Vikram.
If I'm successful, it'll be on my page, but I don't know.
Yeah, if I drag my butt out there, it'll probably actually end up on my other Twitter is also at the Plant Prof. It'll probably end up on there if I don't go to bed as soon as this is over.
Right.
We'll see.
Awesome. All right, so Dr. Vikram, we're going to put you in the green room. We want to say thank you for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Just hang out until the show's over, and we'll get back talking to you for a second.
I agree. We have to read this before they go. Something about dogs. These two have voices like butter.
Totally agree. Definitely.
Great show.
Teach you a class on that?
On how to
that's
talk?
the common denominator between
on how to be butter, because we're not.
It must be the microphones, I think.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't think so, but I'll let you do it.
Okay. All right.
So, Dr. Vikram, we'll talk to you in just a second.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
That was fantastic. Like, I hate that we're ending, right?
It ended really fast. Like, I looked up and we're like 45 minutes. I hadn't asked one thing.
Right?
I had three questions, but I didn't want to ask. I'll contact him later. And then I got sidetracked because I was thinking to myself, why are they saying apricot? Instead of apricot. But anyway.
Oh, you're so weird, Dr. Ben. What?
So I looked up and it was like, yeah, like you said, it was like over an hour already. So time flies always.
It does. I had some questions I wrote down too on the side.
You text me some about diseases and funguses.
Yeah, because when he talked about that part, I was like, wait a minute. If you leave water on the leaves, they get prone to disease. I was like, this is new to me. What? You know what I mean? So I was like, what else do we not know that we're hurting our plants and all that kind of stuff with? I
really want to hear Dr. Ben and Dr. V talk smells. Dr. V is around the all day.
Is around the all day. Yeah, when he comes back, we can, or she means with regard to plants, right?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, go ahead. Natalia wants to say hi real quick.
Oh, Natalia. Hi, how are you?
How exciting! So yeah, there was a million more questions and a million more much time that we could have spent talking with him about so much, because I think it's
Yeah.
and a lot of us have. I know we each had our own questions, and everyone else, I'm sure there was more questions too, just around the topic. Like when you get an expert like this, you can pay big money for that. So it's kind of cool that he was here talking about this stuff for us.
I will, since Carrie asked, I will just say very quickly. Mine would be I love orange blossom and neroli, and I can always usually tease that out when I smell that. I think that's a really nice note for a fragrance for men or for women. I like both.
Neroli
I like that smell.
rhymes with cannoli, so now I want dessert.
I'm thinking about orange blossom flavors in bakes and hibiscus. Hibiscus.
Oh, I love hibiscus.
Yeah, it's a good smell.
Can we grow hibiscus here? Nod. Nod
Yes.
if we can, Dr. Vikram.
Oh, he's nodding yes. All right, so everyone, thanks for hanging out. Dr. Ben, once again, really love to come
Thank you
on
so
and hang out with
much.
Sandy and I.
Oh, you're welcome.
are a
You're welcome.
pleasure
If you don't
around
mind
with.
the last minute entrance, I didn't have a lot of time, but I wanted to
Do
stop
no
and see you
wrong.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do no wrong now,
Don't worry
right?
about that. Guys, we will be back on Wednesday night. I have our guest on Wednesday night. She does some cosplaying. She has her own show that she does over on Instagram, and she brings some very interesting people and talks about a whole range of topics. So it's Wednesday night. She's going to be on here, so be on the lookout for that. And then Sunday, you're not going live this week? Too early to tell?
No, I actually am.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of which, I need to get with somebody about that. But yeah.
Oh, more to come on that later.
More to come.
Everyone. We all hope you have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us, and everybody.
Good night. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. Good to see you. Dr.
Absolutely.
Vikram, I'm
Always
going to
good to see
hop
you guys.
off, but always good to see you guys. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, here we go. Thanks. Bye,
Not that
everyone.
you froze.
No.